Primary ignition.
This is the way. This is the way. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to yet again another episode of Mando Talk. I am your host, as always, Caleb Keller, and joining me this week is none other than DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan on all social media platforms. What's up, DJ?
I am so happy to be here. I do have one quick correction for you. I am not Rebel Scum Texan on Instagram.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No, you're fine. That's just, I just decided a while back, I'll just be, RST in the places where I don't mind faking life,
Sure.
if you will. It's my alter ego. On Instagram, I'm very much me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But all that to say, though, I still am pretty much me on other stuff. But I mean, I just, it's more Star Warsy on the places where it is Rebel Scum Texan.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Well, listen, you can find me if you want my personal Twitter handle or Instagram, whatever. It's right there, Caleb J. Keller 3.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely more active at Mando Talk, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So I just wanted to go ahead and plug those socials while we're there. But before we get this show rolling, we have to address this. It was Tuesday night, Geekverse Reactions. We were doing our Venom, Let There Be Carnage spoiler review, spoiler breakdown. If you haven't checked that out and you've seen Venom Let There Be Carnage, please go back and check that video out. But while we were live, we in fact hit that goal of 100 subscribers on YouTube. And we initially said 100 by the Book of Boba Fett, and you guys smashed that goal with ease. Not even close, never a doubt, never a question. You got it done. So I have to say thank you so much to every single one of you out there that has clicked that subscribe button. It is oh so greatly appreciated. I say that all the time, and I mean it. It's not just rehearsed or I'm not reciting anything. I am so appreciative of every single one of you, and it is phenomenal that we've gotten to that number, but it has made me and DJ both realize I think we have more potential here. So I know This is lofty, but look, I did some calculations today, and we're still 82 days away from the Book of Boba Fett. Now, just to make it even more challenging, let's see if we can get to 200. Let's do it. Why not? It might be lofty, might not be possible, but that's our next goal, so let's make it happen.
It works for me. I think we can do it. And it's like you said on Tuesday, if every one of our subscribers, and we've actually gained 2 more subscribers since Tuesday.
What up, 2?
Yeah, thank you, you extra 2 people. Thank you so much. We're so glad you're here. We're glad that you're with us here at Mando Talk and Geekverse Reactions.
Absolutely.
But you said you think we can get there? I agree with you. I think we can get there. If everybody would just share this one time.
Yeah.
That would do a ton. That would do a lot.
Text it. Text a link of our channel to somebody. And if every single one of us does that, that's 204 subscribers. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. I'll continue to motivate you guys because it's not necessarily just for our benefit, but it's for all of our benefits. We'd have more people in the chat to talk to, more opinions displayed on the show, and just overall better conversation. So let's get that done. Now, I do want to notify specifically our podcast listeners, our podcast platforms, of something that I am considering doing. It's something that I've held off on doing for a while, but I do think that we've gotten to the point here at Mando Talk where we have the potential, the possibility to do some ads and some sponsorships. Now, I know that, sometimes ads disrupt your viewing or your listening experience, but I promise you I'm not going to do it to where it annoys you or it messes with the flow of the show, but that is something that I am heavily considering starting to activate. So if you have an opinion on that or you want to share something about that to just let me know of how to best handle that situation, please tweet at me at Mando Talk or just actually send me a direct message about it. I would love to have more so of a one-on-one kind of private conversation about that. But I felt it was necessary. I don't know. I always like to let the audience know beforehand before I do something like that. So those are just some things that I wanted to keep you aware of. That might be coming down the pipeline. Don't be surprised if it happens. And yeah, that's just growth. It's just us growing and getting out there a little bit more, and it's just an opportunity for us to get onto it. DJ, you want to add anything to that, or you good with that?
It's coming from I found the whole YouTube as far as podcasting goes thing through podcasting. So for me, ads on podcasts don't really ever hinder me at all. And I know that's maybe difference of opinions than others, but to me, if it means we're growing, then I think it's totally worth it going that direction, because it means that we can grow even more, which, for me, I'm all about growth, but I want to be able to share this with as many people as we can, because I love talking about Star Wars. I love talking about other Geekverse related things. So if we're able to do that with even more people, it's just exciting to me. So it's worth it to me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we do also have one more thing to say. We have a new segment that we are going to introduce tonight, and I cannot wait to have this segment and to continue to do it. And, of course, it's called Fair Enough.
Fair enough.
We say that all the time. We've decided to make, basically, it's like a hot take segment called Fair Enough, where we're going to share some hot takes, and it's something that you can get involved with, but I'll share more about that later once we actually get to that Fair Enough segment in our show. So stick around to see what that Fair Enough segment is all about, and share your Fair Enough takes whenever we get there. We would love to hear those, and share them in the future so we can get them in that Fair Enough segment. But anyway, those are all the things that I wanted to address. Now that we're at 100 subs, there's a bunch of different things now that are going on here at Mando Talk / Geekverse Reactions. All good things, but I wanted to make sure that all of that was given to you, our lovely audience, our lovely listeners. But without further ado, let's get into this. This is Mando Talk, so we've got Star Wars news to discuss. Bouncing off of this news, we're going to get into kind of a revisit, if you will, as far as a key character in the saga, as in Supreme Leader Snoke. I can't wait to have that conversation. And we do have, thanks to Star Wars Newsnet, Book of Boba Fett leaks. And of course, once we get there, I will say spoiler warning for all of you that don't want to hear it, which is totally fine, completely understand, but a lot to get to. And without further ado, DJ, are you ready? Are you locked in, ready to go in the cockpit? You ready?
I have my roller coaster safety harness on. Let's go.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to it. First news piece is Lego Terrifying Tales, the Halloween special that Lucasfilm decided to give us in Lego form, has been out since last Friday, October 1st. And what I wanted to do, just to open up our news segment here, is to share how we felt, or how many times necessarily we've seen Terrifying Tales. For me personally, I've only gotten around to see it once. I do plan on getting another viewing in, especially as Halloween gets closer and closer. I mean, it's a perfect Halloween vibe special. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. If I'm completely honest, after one viewing, I think it's my favorite Lego Star Wars special to date. I loved like the little dark side, the humor. There was something in particular that absolutely cracked me up, but of course, now that I'm live and talking about it, it's completely left the brain. But regardless, I loved this special, if I'm being completely honest. Everything from beginning to end, I was engaged. I thought it was funny, lighthearted, something you can share with the next generation of Star Wars fans. It was beautiful. DJ, what did you think of Lego Terrifying Tales?
So I've seen it a shocking 0 times.
What?
I have, and listen, I'm kind of like how you were last week. You were just so busy that you couldn't like get around to watching What If or whatever it was. And for me, I've just been so busy. And the first chance I had to watch it was last night, and I was dog tired. I was so tired. And I was like, how long is it? I looked at, I was like 45 minutes. No, I got to go to bed. I was like, I don't have the energy today. So when we're done streaming tonight, I will go watch it. However, with that being said, from what I know about it, what I've seen about it, and how I'm hearing your opinions, I've been excited to watch it for a lot of reasons, but I'm still very much looking forward to hoping my expectations are right where they need to be. And as what we always want. We always want our expectations right where we, want them to be.
Yeah.
But with this one, it does look like a ton of fun. It is the most intriguing to me out of all of the Lego specials that I've seen. And that includes those Freemaker adventures and even where we are now with last year's Christmas special. So all that to say, there's that. And also I don't really get into Halloween a whole lot. I'm not a spooky season person. So for me, it's one of those, I don't need to get to it right away. But at the same time, I want to watch it. So I'm going to get there. I'm going to watch it. And when I do, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
well,
it looks
listen,
like we got a friend over here in the chat tonight, Rural Farm Bar. He is back with us.
Yeah.
And he says I'm not alone. He also says he has not seen the special, so maybe he and I can get on Disney Plus and do a group watch party or something.
Sure.
See
Hey,
how that goes.
That would be legit.
That'd be something.
I do recommend just checking it out at some point whenever. Obviously, it's not the most important viewing of Star Wars content that we have, but it's lighthearted, it's fun, and like I said, I think it's always important whenever they deliver something that's directed toward the next generation, and that's what these Lego specials are. So I enjoyed it. If you have seen Terrifying Tales, non-spoilers at this point though, because we do have several that haven't seen it, share your overall thoughts on that special. I would love to read those and hear those. DJ, do you want to lead this next news segment?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, all right, sweet.
Let's do it. All right, Andy Serkis, as we all know, famously Gollum / Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, is now directed a couple of movies, but Andy Serkis has been promoting Venom, Let There Be Carnage, his most recent film. And of course, we always have to go with the shameless plug around here, do we not? Let's go check out our spoiler review from Let There Be Carnage from this past Tuesday that Caleb teased up at the beginning of tonight's live stream. So if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. That is, if you have seen Let There Be Carnage, because we went into some heavy spoilers this week on that. And normally we don't do that, but hey, this time around we had to. We really wanted to get that out there for you guys. But all that to say, he's out there promoting Venom 2, and he was recently asked about the death of his Star Wars character, Supreme Leader Snoke. And here's what he had to say about his character's fate in The Last Jedi. He said, "I was devastated when I read that script because it was all going so well. I was like, man, this is a boss character. I'm going to love play." Oh, you're kidding me. What? I was like, okay. These are all direct quotes, by the way. I was like, okay, is it a good idea? I suppose it is. I was slightly mortified. Pardon the pun. It was all in the right, I think. I loved playing that character, and I loved the face-off scene between Kylo Ren and Rey. And then he goes on to say it was so great. So when asked about his knowledge of Snoke's origins, this is probably the most intriguing part of this interview, where he says the journey towards discovering that he was a Palpatine clone of sorts was something that happened during the process because everything was so secret since Force Awakens. So, Caleb, what are your takes here with Andy Serkis's just his comments about his character, Mr. Snoke?
Sure, Mr. Snoke. I love it.
Mr. Snoke.
Big thing for me initially, the quotes about him, kind of being mortified, if you will, of learning that his character of Snoke was going to meet his end. I think in the making of like the Last Jedi special they made, it showed Rian Johnson telling Andy Serkis, "Your character's dying in this film." And he was like, "What? Seriously?" It was great, but I agree with Mr. Serkis in that I thought the execution of the film for that part and the execution of the character Snoke, right, I think it was needed for the story, because for me personally, Kylo Ren at that point I felt like was ready to transition into the big bad of the trilogy. Now, obviously, in hindsight, we now know that The Rise of Skywalker kind of didn't allow Kylo Ren to take that step of being the big bad because Palpatine returned. But I did like that idea of Kylo making, and this is something I've said before, Kylo does something that Vader didn't. He decides that, I'm going to be the one that leads this entire First Order. I'm the man in charge, because he doesn't know Palpatine's out there at this point. I love that character moment, and so I agree with Mr. Serkis, Rian Johnson's decision, everyone involved with that, and I thought that was appropriate, Snoke's death. However, I will say, going into his next quote, where he's talking about how, he didn't know that he was Palpatine's clone, I am slightly disappointed that we didn't get that elaboration in film. I know we've gotten it at this point as far as novels and comics go, but Snoke for me was so mysterious. I loved the look. In Force Awakens, man, as soon as I saw that big holographic image, a couple things raced through my head. I was like, okay, number one, is he really that huge? Number two, is he Plagueis? Those were the initial things that came to mind. Now, obviously, I didn't need that connection. I didn't need for him to be Plagueis, but I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot set up with Snoke that wasn't necessarily executed, but I do like the decision of Snoke being killed when he was killed. What do you have to say about all of that, Mr. DJ?
I am Mr. Caleb. I'm on the other end of the spectrum here. I was never personally satisfied with what happened with Snoke post The Force Awakens. I remember hearing the voiceover for the first time in the trailer back in 2015, May of 2015 is probably when that was. And just being really excited, like, oh, who's this guy? And that's how I found out Andy Serkis was kind of in the film. And I was like, Andy Serkis, I got super stoked. So the fact that he was in Star Wars made me excited. And I think that might lend to why I am not a big fan of how he was handled in The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Because I love Andy Serkis's acting. I thought it was underutilized. Like, his ability as a performer, I felt was very underutilized. And that, again, that's just me being the Lord of the Rings fan that I am. And it's hard for me to separate the two. As if you'll go back and listen to anything I've talked about with Venom, you'll know that's where my mind is when I talk about Andy Serkis. But the biggest problems I had with Snoke's death and everything else was I wanted him to be this line of a kind of a bigger villain throughout the sequel trilogy, throughout that specific trilogy, because I wanted Kylo Ren to have something more to battle against, I guess. And I wanted there to be a bigger moment where, Snoke and him maybe had a showdown or something. I don't know. There was a lot of things that I wanted that, of course, what are they going to do? Listen to me. I mean,
sure.
But I just wanted it to go a different way. And as the classic Luke line is, it's not going to go the way you think, which is they told everybody straight away.
They did.
And that's okay, but all that being said, I still really like the character Snoke. I think he's very cool. I was with you. I thought he was 1,000 feet tall. And then to choose to have him in yellow and gold robes for Last Jedi, I thought this is interesting because I was expecting this dark and broody, Darth Plagueis-y type guy like you mentioned. And I didn't get that. And so for me, it's, it's not like I'm still going to rewatch The Last Jedi. And in fact, I'm glad you mentioned the behind the scenes, because I have only seen The Director and the Jedi.
That's what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah. That documentary, which, listen, why hasn't Disney Plus put any of these behind the scenes documentaries on there yet?
Is that not on there? I think if you go to The Last Jedi and you click on extras, I think it's there.
I think that's on there, but the beginning, the making of episode 1 isn't on there. Puppets to Pixels from Attack of the Clones isn't on there.
Yeah, before pre-Disney.
I want all of them on there. Yeah. The number one thing that they should put on there for the original trilogy is a documentary called From Star Wars to Jedi, which is just a beautiful making of that whole trilogy. It's like an hour and a half long doc. It's fantastic. But all that to say, I'm glad you mentioned that, because now I'm like, man, I haven't watched that in a while. I need to go back and revisit that for just the sake of remembering. But all that to say, as far as Snoke goes, I don't want to veer off too much.
No, you're good.
As far as Snoke goes, I love Snoke. I think Snoke's a great character. I wish we could see more of him. And I know that there's comics and other stories where we can, which I'm very much appreciative of. So if they ever decide to pull another Snoke clone out of one of those tubes, even though they were smashed there at the end or the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, that's whatever. I still kind of want a Snoke clone.
Well, something too that I don't think we can forget at this point is I think the Mandalorian is answering some of these questions now. Don't forget we had that Snoke looking figure in that tank and I don't remember what
Yeah.
chapter it was. It was Carl Weathers and Gina
Oh,
Carano,
that's
that episode where they come back to Navarro. 12?
5? Season 2, episode
Season 2,
5?
episode 5, so I think that would be
Yeah,
episode
that's
12 or something like
yeah.
that. Anyway, but regardless, I do think that The Mandalorian is maybe giving us, the ones that really want more Snoke, I think it's going to at least tease it enough to where we feel satisfied, if you will. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Jon Favreau has been given all this material, past and future, from where he is in the story of The Mandalorian. So with all of that, you want it all to lead and kind of have a big crescendo into The Force Awakens in theory. Like, not that it's going to lead right into it or anything, but you want something like that to happen and be able to see those gaps being filled. And I think that they'll eventually get to that. And if Snoke comes back in Mandalorian, I will have a full-on conniption fit, because I think it'll be the coolest thing ever. And back in the chat, Roll Farm Boy is giving us trivia. Caleb, do you have? I don't know the answer to this. How tall was Supreme Leader Snoke? And he says he is being serious. So,
well, RFB, you're gonna have to help me on that. My guess here.
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna give you a guess. 7'2".
I had 7'4" in my head.
It might be.
7'4".
I can't remember if they show a shot where Adam Driver is standing as tall as he can compared to Snoke, because Adam Driver's a pretty tall dude.
He's like 6'2" or 6'3". That dude's tall.
Yeah,
like
so,
it's incredibly tall.
I don't know, RFB. You're gonna have to tell us if you know the answer, or give us that.
Or somebody else have fun in the chat with Roll Farm Boy, because we don't know.
Absolutely. I do one more thing though to add.
Sure.
I think it's cool, this conversation that we just had, because for me, Snoke's death was my favorite part of The Last Jedi, if I'm being completely honest.
Okay.
Even though I loved Snoke's character, again, I'm still of the opinion that in order for Kylo Ren to flourish, that moment had to happen. And it's great that you have a different point of view, and yet we're still not screaming at each other, and we're having a great conversation about The Last Jedi.
Exactly. I don't see the point. And I was talking to a guy on Twitter about this earlier. I don't see the point in the constant bickering and back and forth about things. I mean, love what you love in Star Wars, and everybody else can suck it, I guess. I don't know, because I'm gonna have a good time with this regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you have any other final thoughts, closing thoughts on Snoke, as far as revisiting the character that maybe we overlooked?
Only that Roll Farm Boy just told us that Snoke is 9 feet tall.
Wow. Dude.
I don't want to mess with. That's enough.
Yeah,
that's enough of that.
I did not know that, man. I did not know that.
I didn't think he was that tall, but
I didn't think so either.
Whatever.
See, hey, we need more Snoke. We need more info. Obviously, maybe I'm just not looking at the info out there.
No, we need more. No, we just need more Snoke. That's what it is. Give us more Snoke.
There you go. Well, listen, if you have some thoughts on Snoke, now that we're kind of in, we can look back on the entire trilogy, see Snoke's character, and how he was really only there for 2 episodes, though, and then he was in the background in a tube in episode 9, and that was really about it. But regardless, you have thoughts on Snoke, please let us know. We would love to talk about that character. But we're ready now to move on to the next news piece, and this news piece is, in fact, the spoiler warning. Now, the Book of Boba Fett, this is what this news piece is about. It's a leak for the Book of Boba Fett. I don't think it's really a plot line leak, more so of a, well, maybe DJ has other thoughts. More so, for me, more so of just like a really visually cool moment and cool showdown, potentially. I'll leave it at that before we dive into the spoilers. So again, spoiler warning. Here's what I'll do. Let me just, for those of you that are with us live right now, let me just wave my hands like crazy. We're fixing to go into spoilers, and then whenever we're out of spoilers, we'll do the same thing. We'll start.
You look like one of those inflatable.
Like crazy.
You look like one of those inflatable tube men outside of a car dealership. Just.
Yeah. No, I can see what you're saying. But anyway, let's get into these Book of Boba Fett potential leaks. All right, here we go. Again, final spoiler warning. Here it is. Spoiler. The Book of Boba Fett from Star Wars Newsnet. This is an exclusive to that site. So again, I always say it. Props to that. They're my favorite news site out there, if I'm being completely honest. It says, a wild scene description from the Book of Boba Fett can be found at that location of Star Wars Newsnet. And here's the direct quote from that article. A reliable source has described a scene from the Book of Boba Fett to us. In the scene, Boba Fett will be encountering and quite possibly taming/controlling a Rancor. Our source was not completely positive on whether Fett is fighting the beast or controlling it, but Fett is standing on the back of the Rancor's neck and looks like he's riding and controlling it as it tears through a complex city street on what is likely Tatooine. We consulted with a separate source who confirmed the scene is indeed in the series. So this sounds pretty legit. Sounds like it's going to be something there. Here's something interesting. I don't know why, but for me, as soon as I read this, because I think in the article it mentions that it doesn't look like the Rancor that's in Return of the Jedi. I mean, that one's dead at this point anyway.
Yeah.
But could it be the Rancor we got in Bad Batch?
Well, I would say if it's a flashback, it certainly could be. I think it would make a lot of sense to say, hey, let's bring in this thing from Bad Batch, because I personally want Omega to be in the Book of Boba Fett in like a flashback somewhere. I think that'd be a lot of fun, real connective.
Yeah.
But if all we get from Bad Batch is the little baby Rancor whose name escapes me, if that's all we get, then that's fine. I think it'd be really cool. Plus, if that Rancor is not the same as the Rancor from Last Jedi, it would make sense that Jabba would then replace the Rancor. It makes sense. So I'm for it. If that's what happens, great. I mean, they're trying to really make sure that we understand that Boba Fett is a Mandalorian, as per Mandalorian season 2. So why not have him ride a giant beast when the Mandalorians tamed the great mythosaur? Makes sense to me.
That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool.
To me.
I will say too, in the Star Wars Newsnet article, I didn't want to display it on YouTube because I didn't want to, spoilers or take away from the work that those guys did. But there's an image, like a concept art that they drew in response to these leaks that they were getting. It's pretty cool. Seeing Boba on top of a Rancor is pretty cool visual, pretty cool moment. However, do you think, I guess going back into the source, do you think he's fighting it? Or it sounds like you're more so leaning toward he's taming it. He's riding it.
It could be one of those situations where a taming got out of control. That's what makes the most sense to me. From what I read and what I saw, I think, it's probably one of those, the Rancor's loose, Boba, go get him. And he's like, flies off and does his whole thing. And then he dies in the process. Okay. I don't know. I mean, that's that's where I'm thinking it's going to go.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, on Tatooine, I'm trying to come up with how Cobb Vanth is going to get involved. Wouldn't it be something to see Boba just like riding on this Rancor, full head of steam, straight to Cobb Vanth?
And then just, oh my gosh, just to get like revenge? That would be hilarious.
Yeah. That'd
be awesome. I think that'd be hilarious if Cobb Vanth is just there, or even if he's just like to the side, he's just kind of like, okay. And he walks the other way. That'd be hilarious. I would love that. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think it'd be funny.
All right. Well, listen, that's the leak. Boba Fett could potentially be riding on a Rancor, but those are the spoilers. So, if you muted us on YouTube, here's
We're back.
Our gas station inflatable hands. No more spoilers for that Book of Boba Fett news piece. But those of you that are watching live, if you have thoughts on that Book of Boba Fett news piece, put them in the chat. Maybe try to avoid spoilers for it though, for maybe those that
I would.
Okay, so maybe just message us or hop over on Discord. Hey, Discord links in the description if you want to have a there is a spoiler thread on there, so
there is.
I think that's free game at that point. Spoiler thread on Mando Talks Discord, link in the description. Come and tell us what you think of that Book of Boba Fett the Book of Boba Fett thing that's out there. Okay. Other notable news pieces. DJ, hit them. You got them?
I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready. Let's do it. I was retweeting something because
you're good, man.
I was like, oh, Mando Talk tweeted. I had to make sure I retweeted it.
Hype us up.
All right. All day. All right. Other notable news. According to Jordan Mason? Mason?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with Mason. That sounds more Star Warsy. Jordan Mason at Cineleak says, Obi-Wan Kenobi could premiere on Disney Plus in May of 2022. Caleb, does this make sense to you? Does this sound like the right time frame?
100%.
I'm with you.
100% makes sense for me. And something else that I realized today, because I was reading this tweet from Cinelinks, I pulled up my calendar. You know what day of the week May the 4th falls on this year? Or this upcoming year?
Is it a Wednesday?
A Wednesday. Whenever Disney Plus is releasing their television series episodes. May the 4th. You're hearing it right now. Mando Talk exclusive.
May the 4th, 2022.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hello there. All day.
Hey, you heard it here first. And make sure whenever you tweet, whenever it comes out in the next couple of weeks, make sure you reply to that Star Wars tweet that says, Obi-Wan Kenobi coming May 4th, 2022. Say, Mando Talk reported it first.
We did report it first. 100%.
Hopefully you are catching that sarcasm through the mics there, but I do think that's potential.
I'm not sarcastic. I'm just kidding. No, I think it's a perfect potential day. I mean, I had no idea it was a Wednesday. Why wouldn't you relate? Why wouldn't you release the most anticipated Star Wars series since The Force Awakens? Yes. I mean, I'm going to be real honest with you. I love Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. Obi-Wan Kenobi has been more anticipated than Mandalorian.
Well, I think you shared your most anticipated television shows on Discord, and you put Mandalorian dead last. I want to say.
Well, I've already seen the character.
Yeah.
What else are they going to do? He's going to show up with a jetpack and a little baby Yoda, and he's going to shoot somebody, and that's the whole episode. I mean, unless they can totally subvert those expectations, it's dead last. Yeah. So you're not wrong.
That's fair. I don't know. See, I'm one of those, like, once it's time for Mandalorian to start coming out, that's my most anticipated. Once it's time for Andor to start coming out, that's my most anticipated. That's how I'll be.
I'm 100% looking forward to Obi-Wan Kenobi the most. Ahsoka is a number 2 right there. Mm-hmm. Book of Boba Fett, just because it's different, is 3, and then Mando's down at the bottom until we get something else. But you tell us what you know what? Go ahead and tell us what your most anticipated live action project from Star Wars is right now. Yeah. It may change, but tell us what it is right now. Okay.
Absolutely.
We got this next one here. Star Wars announces 4 new books featuring never before told stories. The first one, Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. All right. Caleb, I'm going to go ahead and just give a quick little rundown here, what we've got in our notes, and then I'll hand the next one off to you. Sound good?
That's cool. We might need to spend some time with this one, though. I will say
that's fine. That's fine. So here's the breakdown of this Shadow of the Sith. Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian return in the essential novel set between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Luke is having visions of Exegol. Lando reports to Luke a new Sith menace following his daughter being stolen from him. Hello. And then their mission turns into aiding a young family running for their lives from Ochi, a.k.a. the guy who murders Rey.
The creepy looking guy.
Rey Skywalker's. Actually, it's Rey Palpatine at that time. Rey Palpatine's parents. So, Caleb, let's hear what you have to say, because you were telling me off air how excited you were about this novel.
Yes. First of all, whenever they use that word essential, that is slap on the forehead. I need to check this out.
Yeah.
Luke having visions of Exegol, I think that connects directly to the Rise of Skywalker whenever Lando mentions that him and Luke started chasing this guy and they just could never figure it out based on those visions. And then also, it's okay, I have 2 things to say about this.
Go ahead.
Lando wanting to find his missing daughter. Now, clearly, that is Janna.
Yeah, it's Janna.
Janna, sorry, from The Rise of Skywalker. Now, number 1, I'm glad we're getting this story. But number 2, I know after Rise of Skywalker came out, a lot of us speculated, that's going to be a series one day. I think this takes that potentially off the plate, at least for a while. They might make it in book form and come back to it. Those are just my opinions on that.
You know, if they come back to it in live action, it'll be in the Lando series. But even then,
dude, I forgot all about that series.
We all do, because there's no information about it.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to backtrack on that. We might see some of that in it, but maybe not necessarily a series focused on it.
Yeah, I mean, we may see like highlights of it for sure. I think that would be the right move. But we know nothing about Lando. So for now, all we can go off of for actual canon Lando content is this novel. At least, and of course, there's other stuff probably, but definitely this one. So that's what I wanted to say about Lando real quick.
Yeah.
But turn it back to you. You have anything else you want to say about this story?
No, other than I have a feeling this is going to also please those that liked the Luke portrayal in The Mandalorian. I would assume that he's going to be kind of in that status, if you will. And I believe also that Adam Christopher, the author of this novel, today gave a hint in one of his tweets and said, I hope everyone likes lightsabers. So I'm assuming we're going to see read some cool little showdown moments with Luke and potentially other Force users or at least lightsaber welders out there.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. I am, of these four, this is by far the one that I am looking forward to the most.
All right. That's fair enough, man. All right, let's go ahead and look at that next one.
All right. You want me to read this one?
I do.
Okay, here we go. The second novel or book that was announced today is titled Brotherhood by Mike Chen. Now, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, those are our key characters. Obviously, that is appealing already. Here's kind of my big takeaways. These aren't necessarily quotes from the article that was released, but my big takeaways from this announcement with Brotherhood. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker must stem the tide of the raging Clone Wars and forge a new bond as Jedi Knights. Anakin, now a Jedi Knight, comes to, and I'm probably going to mess this up, but I know it's in Revenge of the Sith. I haven't watched that in a minute. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Cato Nemodia?
Cato Nemodia.
Cato, okay, thank you. Now, that is something that Kenobi references, though, in Revenge of the Sith. He's like, that business on Cato, however you say it, DJ. You're the
Cato Nemodia.
Thank you. That business doesn't matter, or that business doesn't count. So it's cool to actually get that story. But last thing I'll say before I pass it back to you, DJ, is Kenobi senses Asajj Ventress in this book. So that's already exciting in itself. So a lot of cool things there, even if I can't say it. DJ, what do you think about this book?
Well, Cato Nemodia, first of all, Kenobi does say that business on Kinnaman doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
it doesn't count. He's very adamant, like, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
But that's going to be an interesting story because, and y'all know, if you listen to Mando Talk, you know how much I love Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. That novel's fantastic. And
Claudia Gray is phenomenal, by the way.
Absolutely. And I will be referencing that novel in just a few moments.
Yes, you will.
But this one, for me, gives that kind of, we learn in Master and Apprentice why Obi-Wan Kenobi hates flying. This is going to give us that story of what happened on Cato Nemodia. Not to mention, this one I'm picking up, I'm reading it, I'm buying the hard copy because this is going to be one of those books I know I want to reference down the road. Here's the thing. In Legends, in what is now considered non-canon material, Asajj Ventress is the one to give Anakin the scar over his eye. And so when you find out that scar on his right eye is from Asajj Ventress, and you don't see it in Clone Wars. In fact, when you watch the Clone Wars movie, even though it's kind of all out of chronological order, even when you watch it in chronological order, Anakin Skywalker, scar down the eye. Yep. So it happens before the Clone Wars movie and after Attack of the Clones. In Legends, it was Asajj Ventress that gave him that scar. That would explain the constant headbutting between those two characters even further in Clone Wars. So the business on Cato Nemodia has everything to do with that scar on his eye, and it has everything to do with that one line that Obi-Wan throws out there. And we already know how we, as Star Wars fans, eat up these stories about those one lines. Literally, Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, boom, solo Star Wars story. I mean, that we love that kind of stuff as fans. So for me, picking this one up, I may pre-order it. I actually didn't see when the pre-order.
I think you can right now. I think
that means though that if I pre-order this, I won't get it until after the birth of my daughter. And she's supposed to be born in January. So I would be like sitting here waiting on my actual firstborn child and then be like, where's my book? That's what would be happening. And the truth of the matter is I probably won't have time to read because I'll be a new dad, but
Sure.
at the same time, I'm still buying this. Like, I'm just super excited about it. The idea of them trying to just find this new bond within the Clone Wars, having essentially graduated from the Padawan to the Jedi Knight role. I just, it's something I've wanted to see for so long. I love Anakin Skywalker. I mean, hello, I'm wearing an episode 3 hat. I have Darth Vader Crunch on my shirt tonight.
Vader Crunch.
Vader Crunch, man. This is actually a Funko Pop thing. They had
I like that.
They had them in cereal boxes. That was the kind of deal. But anyway, I love Anakin. So for me, this is one I'm picking up. I'm super excited about it. Caleb, anything else you got to add to it?
No, other than I'm excited for this one as well. I'm definitely picking up Brotherhood too. I think this one maybe not as essential, but it's very important as far as the characters of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And I think even in the announcement, it mentions how, like, it's an awkward kind of transition because technically at this moment they're both Jedi Knights. Although Obi-Wan is still like his master, it's just that Anakin is no longer a Padawan necessarily. So it's kind of like an awkward moment between the two initially. And I think that'll be something that they get through. And they also talk about how, you know, it's in the title, Brotherhood. It's important to build that foundation.
And it's important to note that in Attack of the Clones, he looked at Obi-Wan as a father, when in reality, they're not that much different age, something like 15 or 16 years difference in them. And by the time you get to the end of Revenge of the Sith, they're saying, you know, we're like brothers. And this novel is going to be a heartbreaker. It really is. Yeah. And that's something to look forward to, I think.
No, I agree. All right. The next one, I'll go ahead and take this one and save that last one for you because I know you're really excited for that last one.
Thank you.
The third one, we've got Stories of Jedi and Sith by Jennifer Heddle. It is geared toward middle grade audience, so around like 9 to 12 ish, I'm assuming, somewhere in that range. It says, and I think this was a direct quote, in this exciting middle grade anthology, 10 acclaimed authors imagine all new tales for some of the saga's most popular characters, from Luke Skywalker to Darth Vader, from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Asajj Ventress, and beyond, complete with beautiful spot illustrations. So it's definitely geared toward not necessarily me, and for that reason, this is probably the one of these four that I probably won't go and purchase. But I'm sure I'll read up on it online and I'll look at the illustrations because that'll be pretty cool to see. But I don't really have anything else to add to that other than I'm sure it's great for if you have someone in your family that loves Star Wars and they're ages 9 to 12, check out this novel.
Yeah. You know, for me, it's not one I'm really looking to pick up. You know, I think it's one of those, I'm fine if I find out bits and pieces of it on Twitter. To be totally honest, that's what I've been doing with High Republic. I've read just over half of Light of the Jedi, which is it's a good book. It's just, I'm kind of like, you know, like I need something to really drive it for me. And it's just, you know, it teach their own with me, I guess it's just not really hitting it. So for me, I'm kind of feeling like this is going to fall into that camp of, I can read about it online. It won't hurt my feelings.
You know,
at all.
you actually bring up an interesting kind of discussion there to have, and we're veering off here for a second.
That's
but
fine,
I agree with you as far as reading novels. For me, it's a lot easier for me to get into those if we already have a television show or movie that has set it up. For me, it's hard. I'm like you. It's been hard for me to get into High Republic because there hasn't really been massive stakes presented to us yet in that arena, in that setting. Now, with that said, though, I'm sure once Acolyte and stuff like that come out, I'm sure I will have a lot more motivation to go check out those novels. But right now, I'm kind of with you. I'm struggling to keep up with High Republic, not because I'm not interested, but because there's other things to tend to.
You're absolutely right. That's the whole reason I read Ahsoka. I mean, the Ahsoka novel is phenomenal as well, by E.K. Johnston, and that's the first canon Star Wars novel I ever read. Yeah. So I love that book.
Yeah. Well, and to that end, the reason why I finally decided to read Heir to the Empire is because Thrawn showed up in Rebels, but also Ahsoka doubled down by saying, "Where's Thrawn?"
Of course.
And they just happened to re-release that trilogy after she made that statement. So it's kind of...
You have to get geared up for what's coming with Thrawn. There's no doubt in my mind we're going to see Thrawn in live action very soon, and those novels are a key factor to that. So certain novels like that, they're worth reading. until I can get something in live action that says, ooh, do you remember the Starlight Beacon? Like, then I'll be like, oh, now I got to go read High
Sure.
Republic. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I would do at that point. And when they may do that eventually. And if they do, awesome. Well, you guys tell us online, if you're watching online, I'm looking over at my left-hand screen here because that's my side screen. But
Yeah.
you tell us in the chat how you're feeling about some of these novels. If it's all right with you, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next novel.
Absolutely. Do it.
All right, this final novel is meant for a young adult audience, but it is called Padawan by Kiersten White. Kiersten White writing Padawan. And this is what we have in our show notes tonight. Obi-Wan Kenobi struggles with his place in the Force as a young Padawan in a coming-of-age adventure, and Qui-Gon Jinn is heavily in the story. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just take this real quick.
Yeah,
because as I have mentioned previously tonight, I love Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. Phantom Menace, I'm sorry, I'm actually not apologizing. It is my favorite Star Wars movie. It is the first Star Wars movie I ever saw in theaters. I was 4 years old. You know the story. It's how I'm here, Caleb.
Right.
I was 4 years old in May 1999. Saw it at midnight with my dad and several other people, and I hold on to those memories very closely. So for me, Phantom Menace, and I would rewatch it every time I got sick. I stayed home from school. I mean, I'd pop in the VHS when we got the DVD, behind the scenes all day. I love the Phantom Menace. Okay. Like, I love the Phantom Menace. So
sure. Yeah.
And as I mentioned last week in our Visions review, which by the way, if you haven't checked out our Star Wars Visions review, go check that out.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shame all day. I bought 1999 action figures of Maul, Kenobi, Obi-Wan, a Jedi Padawan Anakin, and Jar Jar Binks at an estate sale, all for $60. So that's a steal on some of those 99. It's a steal, especially on the Jar Jar, which was priced at $140. I talked him down. So I got the deal of the day that day. I was stoked out of my mind. I was like all kinds of adrenaline. But anyway, I love Phantom Menace. And so because of that, anything that has to do with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan and that relationship, to me, is everything that I love about Star Wars. And so when I watch Qui-Gon Jinn talk and I listen to Qui-Gon Jinn talk and I read what he says, I'm just like, I feel like I'm reading almost like a philosophy, book, because he's such a wise character. I would say he's as wise as Yoda in so many areas. And so listening to him teach and listening to him and listen to Obi-Wan respond and be curious. And I just love that relationship so much. And so for me, this is for a young adult audience, this book Padawan, but I'm getting it because I love this relationship so much.
Well, the only thing I'll add to that is I don't think we should, as a Star Wars fan base, run from that young adult label or genre, because as we were talking about before we went live, Lost Stars, which is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars novels, maybe even just potentially stories in general, is technically young adult. I think that's the case. If not, it's definitely young adult. I know plenty of young adult people that could read that novel, so I think it fits toward them as well. So that young adult genre actually gets me more excited, because that tells me that Padawan probably won't be overwhelming to read. It'll probably be a nice, easy, fun, and cool read, just like you said, to get into that mindset of Qui-Gon teaching and instructing Obi-Wan and seeing that relationship build. And I'm curious, though, as far as if Padawan comes before Master and Apprentice or after, or does Master and Apprentice kind of like jump around here and there?
Master and Apprentice is roughly 10 to 12 years before Phantom Menace, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So this is probably, it very clearly says a young Padawan in a coming of age story. So that screams to me it's before Master and Apprentice.
Okay. So I might just read this one first then.
That wouldn't probably be a bad idea. And of course, as this goes on, we're going to get more details and we're going to know more about what we have coming down the pipe with this storyline. So for me, I'm excited about it. I'm very much looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's end this portion of the show and get into our brand new segment. I almost said segment. Yeah. Called Fair Enough.
It is called Fair Enough. So let's cue up the segment. Here we go.
Fair enough.
What's the situation, Captain?
All right, so when you hear that music, or whenever you hear that sound bite, that means we are getting into our Fair Enough segment. Now, what is the Fair Enough segment, you ask? Well, it's a segment where myself and DJ share a Star Wars hot take of the week. These could be anything Star Wars related, from the films, television series, comics, or novels. And you, that's right, you can share a hot take to be discussed during the Fair Enough segment as well. You have two options. Option number one, in the Mando Talk Discord, send your hot take and use the hashtag Fair Enough at the end of your hot take, and we'll read it on the show. Option number two, send a tweet to @MandoTalk, type out your hot take, and again, use that hashtag Fair Enough at the end of your hot take. That way we know for sure to read that hot take during the Fair Enough segment. So hopefully that's enough info that you need. First of all, I love that little soundbite again that DJ himself made. I love getting Grievous in there. I like some prequel action. I love it. I love it, man. But you know what? Since this was DJ's idea as well, so all props to him. DJ gets to go first this week. DJ gets to go first.
I hope Zach Horvath is watching.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Ooh.
I'm stealing it. I am stealing it for my first Fair Enough segment out here. And I am going full dark side. There's a reason I've got Vader on the chest, episode 3 on the dome.
Okay.
I am about to make some folks angry.
Okay.
I'm be real honest. So here is my hot take.
All right, here we go. I'm nervous.
You should be. All right. This is from the depths of my darkest part of my soul. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
It's about the Mandalorian.
Uh-oh.
I brought him here with me tonight.
Ooh, good haul. I've still never seen. That's the first time I've seen one in the flesh, although we're through a screen, but whatever.
Let me get it out of the light there. It doesn't help.
Yeah, it's all right.
This actually was the one that was released with Rise of Skywalker's release.
He's right here on my end. I got the real deal. No worries.
You got the real deal, but I can get mine out of the box and punch stormtroopers.
Sure.
Anyway, here we go. Okay. I've been scared to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
Brandon Wayne should have been cast as the face of Din Djarin in The Mandalorian over Pedro Pascal.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I'm only saying that because I have to, by the way.
Yeah, that's fine. But listen, I have legitimate reasons as to why I believe this, and they're very detailed. So buckle up. Here we go. Before I do that, Caleb, what do you think when you hear me say that? Are you just beside yourself angry?
I'm not angry. I just want to hear you elaborate. How about that?
Okay,
but
enough.
Again, we're gonna, we
That's
don't
what
yell
this
at
is
each
about.
other. It's conversations.
No, we do
baby.
not.
This is a safe space. Fair enough is where you can say the hottest of hot takes.
Well, here it comes, man. Brandon Wayne should have been cast as the face of Din Djarin. I wrote this out, so I make sure I don't mess it up.
Here we go. Here we go.
All right. The entire the show, its entirety, The Mandalorian, centers around a gunslinger who is essentially a lone wolf when we meet him, which means this next to no assistance ever. Okay. Not to mention, you do not see his face for 7 full episodes, almost 8 full episodes. All right. And my voice raising is not me angry. It's me being amped for this segment. Fair enough. All right. Fair enough. All right. And here's the thing. There are episodes that require basically only a stunt double. All right. And a certain movement and performances that when I see Pedro Pascal in the armor, in the suit, and the helmet, it does not look the same to me. Now, you can argue one way or the other. Get a stuntman who looks more like the physicality of Pedro Pascal, or get rid of Pedro Pascal altogether. Okay. Pedro's voice work, I want to say this up front, is incredible. He is an amazing voice work artist in that sense, that acting, that voice work is required for. It's impeccable. I mean, voice acting is something that should not be overlooked in any sense, no matter what genre you're coming from. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go a little further with this. There are moments in the Disney Gallery episodes that very clearly point out the fact that Pedro is not there. I mean, they flat out were like, yeah, Pedro wasn't there, and we had Brandon come in, or other stunt doubles who I don't remember the name of. All right. And in some cases, yeah, there's two. Brandon's the other one, and then there's the other guy with the dreads who looks, the dreads look dope, and he's jacked. I would not want to run into him anywhere because you could tell he could kick my tail. But the truth is, I think Brandon Wayne should still have been this guy because you don't need Pedro on the set. You just don't. So when you have these performances from Brandon Wayne and other stunt performers, it actually lessens the need for a big name actor to even be on set because he's already got his face covered. I mean, his face is covered. There's no reason to have Pedro Pascal there. Now, let me go even a step further. Not to mention the character of the Mandalorian, Din Djarin. Again, his face is hidden like 98% of the time. Pedro comes in to do like two things: voice acting, which by the way is amazing, but it could be done by 1,000 other people easily. And Brandon Wayne has a great voice. I think he would have made a great Din Djarin. So to stand in for like a scene or two, that's the only other thing Pedro does. And they basically do that just for the writers to say, hey, let's have him take off his helmet in this episode because we haven't seen his face in a while, is essentially all they've done. All right. I mean, let's be real honest here. All they're doing is saying, we haven't seen our main actor in 7 episodes. He has to remove his face, or no, not his face, his helmet in the finale. Great. Are we going to see his face in season 2? A little bit more, literally twice, I think. I don't think there was more than 2 times in all of the second season where we saw Pedro Pascal's face. Now, granted, he was on set more, but it makes so much more sense just to never have cast a guy who, let's face it, before Mandalorian was known for 2 things: Narcos and Game of Thrones. And other than that, B-list actor. That's who he is. All right. Now, Mandalorian has put him on the A-list. I'm telling you, this is what this is about. There's a reason I am dark side tonight, man.
Sure.
So with all of these things are very heavy, and I'm aware of that. So let's circle back to Brandon Wayne. He is of the lineage of Hollywood royalty. John Wayne's grandson. Who else is better to take on this gunslinger cowboy-esque, swagger? I think it makes all the sense in the world to have a guy who can perform like a cowboy in Star Wars actually be the guy. So why not let him show his face? It kind of reminds me a lot of, now Brandon Wayne has actually been very respectful of this. And I also want to say this too, before anybody starts to try to cancel me or whatever. I want to make this very clear. I like Pedro Pascal. I think he's great, but I don't think he's as needed because even Giancarlo Esposito on the Emmys red carpet flat out said, we don't even need him. We don't even need Pedro for season 3 is what he said. So because he's not needed for season 3, and he apparently wasn't needed for season 1, I think Pedro wasn't willing to take the risk. I think he wasn't willing to take the risk to step out there, or it was a scheduling conflict, or it's officially a scheduling conflict. This is going to be my hot take that I'm going to have to live and die with, I feel like, because when it's all said and done, it's not that hard to have somebody come in there and just be a character who's got a helmet on 98% of the time, like I said. And on top of that, we saw how easy it was for Timothy Olyphant to take off the helmet and put it back on. What's the big deal other than the story side of things saying, hey, we don't take our helmets off? Okay, that's only in there because you couldn't put Pedro in the show because of scheduling conflicts or because he didn't want to take the risk.
Well, I think in season 1, though, he was readily available more to where if they wanted to put him in there as much as they could have. It's just with a lot of the stunt work, and regardless of if they're helmeted or not, a lot of stunt work's not done by the A-list actor anyway.
Well, I know that, and that's what I'm saying. If 98% of the show is one giant stunt, which is what season 1 was. Season 1 was one giant stunt show, especially those first couple of episodes. With the sandcrawler and him running up and down with the mud horn and all that stuff. I mean, all of that was just one giant stuntman's dream. So I know I'm going to take one for this later. I know it, but I'm just being honest. I don't think we ever needed Pedro. And I wish now, looking back at it, we just had Brandon the whole time. Not to say, and that doesn't mean I dislike Pedro. That doesn't mean I dislike the Mandalorian. I love the Mandalorian. Look, he's up there, guys. All right. And I've got him in the flesh right here, sort of. All right. I've got the toy. I'm going to hold on to this because it's a cool toy. And on top of that, I love the show. I want it to continue for many more seasons if Lucasfilm wants to. I have a suspicion, though, it may end after 3 or 4 seasons, but at the same time, that's my hot take. I'm gonna stick to it.
That's a hot take. It's a hot take.
And that's my first fair enough.
That is a very very hot fair enough.
It is. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? I mean, it's just, why else? I just, it's the best thing I could think of, and that's my honest opinion.
It's the only two things that I'm thinking of as far as just another point of view. Number one, I don't think there's been scheduling conflict like people have said. I think that it's been their plan for Book of Boba Fett to come out this December and Mandalorian to come out next December. I think it's just something that they were aware of, and it just kind of naturally fit their schedule.
Right.
Number two, I think Giancarlo Esposito's quote of they don't need Pedro Pascal was in the sense of just starting to shoot it, not as far. They're not going to delay it. They're not going to delay shooting for Pedro, I think is what he was essentially saying. Not saying that, we don't need Pedro in order to shoot the show. I think he was saying we don't need Pedro in order to start shooting the show.
I read that as sarcasm with a hint of truth. Because I mean, Giancarlo shows up and he's ready. And
sure,
I'm going to be honest with you, I knew who that guy was way before I knew who Pedro Pascal was.
Sure.
And so he, in my mind, is an A-list who came down to TV. That's how I see it. Well, not down to TV. He was already in TV, but you know what I mean? To take that step over there. So I think you read it one way, I read it another. Yeah. And that's part of this fair enough segment. That's what this is going to be about going forward.
Man, there's a lot to talk about with that one, if I'm being completely honest.
I figured loud and heavy. I mean, just lay it on there like my boy Cody Jinks. It's just what it is. Shout out Nolan. That's what I have on that, man. Ooh. And that's my first fair enough. I'm anxious to hear if you want to. Mine's not that hot, but that we probably need to simmer down anyway.
I will say though, just real quick, just to again, advertise that it's okay to have these. I don't want anyone else other than Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian, personally.
Well, I mean, I at this point I don't, because if he had never taken the helmet off, I'd be like, can we switch this up? Like if he'd never taken the helmet off, I'd be like, can we switch this guy out for somebody else? But because he's already revealed himself.
What's the reason for wanting to switch him out other than scheduling?
I just don't think it's not worth it to have this. It's not worth. One of my biggest beefs is Pedro's basically coming in. I'm going to switch it back to red because I feel like I have to now. One of my biggest beefs is the fact that Pedro, he's basically collecting a check for something somebody else did. And that irritates the fire out of me, because now I get it. Stuntmen do their thing and actors do their thing. But when 90% of this show has been a stuntman doing the work, Pedro is then top billed. It seems like someone's been cheated to me. And I don't even want to say because then I just start projecting and it takes us down a whole other rabbit trail. But it's just it doesn't seem like the right call to me.
Okay.
And it kind of bugs me. And I don't like that. Now, if Pedro Pascal were to jump in our chat right now and be like, hey, my name is Pedro Pascal and I'm calling you out, I'd be like, fair enough. Let's have that conversation. Or even if Brandon Wayne or John Favreau, I don't care. I mean, I'd love to have that conversation.
Sure.
I'll fangirl the whole time too. But at the same time, I want to make it very clear. I'm a fan of Pedro. I just don't think I just don't see the point. I don't see the point.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right, Mr. Keller.
Well,
Mr.
mine's
Mando
definitely
talk.
not that hot, so we are going to simmer back down. We're putting the burner on warm. Putting the burner on warm. I did more so of like a lighthearted take, and I'll switch the color based on my take here.
Here we go.
Here's the take. It's not going to be too hot. It's just something that for some reason, I've been heavily thinking about this recently. Rey Skywalker's lightsaber in The Rise of Skywalker is the best lightsaber in the entire saga. Point blank.
Okay.
Period. Better than the Skywalker saber. Better than Kylo Ren's saber. Better than the dark saber. Now, my reason for that, this is probably something that could change, if I'm being completely honest. But for right now, the reason for that is the mystique behind it. I think
Yeah.
a couple years ago, I probably would have said the Darksaber, but now in The Mandalorian, we're getting it in action. We've seen it in Clone Wars and Rebels some more. So I'm like satisfied and fulfilled with the Darksaber, and I guess the mystique's not there with that weapon at this point. Kylo Ren, same thing with The Force Awakens. When it first came out, I
Yeah.
thought it was the best lightsaber I'd ever seen in my life. Practicality, maybe not there, but it was really cool. So I loved Kylo Ren's saber. But right now, to this date, on October 7th of 2021, Rey Skywalker's handmade, handcrafted from her staff from throughout the sequel trilogy,
Yes.
number one, by far, hands down, the best lightsaber in the entire saga. Now that could change if they actually start showing it being used and welded in a battle, but for right now, that's where I'm sticking my first fair enough hot take. And again, it's not the hottest of hots, but I do feel like that might be rare in a sense compared to all the other sabers that are out there.
Sure. Well, first of all, fair enough. And secondly, I don't disagree with you because I see no problem with the Rey Skywalker's lightsaber being on that list. I mean, a few weeks ago, we talked about the Hasbro reveal for the Elite Force Effects Black Series saber. And
that's probably why it's been on my mind, honestly.
Oh, that's totally fine. But, I am a proud owner of a Rey Skywalker Funko Pop with the yellow lightsaber.
Oh, nice.
And I'm so glad I copped that. But it was a good day at my house. Well, for me, maybe not so much for the wife. Which, by the way, today is actually my wife and I's 4th wedding anniversary.
Hey, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. So she's letting me come do the stream tonight.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna go hang out with her for the rest of the evening.
Sure.
But at the same time, I was happy to buy that. But back to the Rey Skywalker thing. Yeah, it's a cool lightsaber. I think the only thing I differ with you on, let me go like all-time greatest lightsaber is Darth Maul, I feel like.
Okay.
And then followed very closely by Rey Skywalker.
Oh, so you're putting it pretty high too then.
It's very high up on
maybe
the cool
I misread
factor.
that then. Maybe I misread that.
It's very high up on the cool list because it is the sentimentality of her staff. Where she got a yellow kyber crystal, I don't know. I want that answer. I want that answer like I want to know how Maz Kanata got the Skywalker legacy saber.
Sure.
Even though that's kind of been answered, but not really. I want to know all that information. That's why I think there's this, like you said, a mysteriousness to it, or just the mystery surrounding it is cool. But right behind Rey Skywalker, Ahsoka. Ahsoka's white lightsabers are freaking cool, man. And if you have Spotify and you listen to Star Wars music, the little scroll bar for the music,
I noticed that.
It turns into a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And you can switch it between, I think, like 5 or 6 different lightsabers. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's a great fair enough.
Okay, sweet.
That's a great, I think some people would be like, that's stupid. Like, I hate that lightsaber.
Sure, probably like how they would feel about you saying Pedro shouldn't be the Mandalorian.
No, I'm on a whole other planet, okay? I am out in the unknown regions, okay?
Yes, you are.
There's some people who are like, "Whoa, what the heck? Where am I?" If you're just, that's what happened tonight. I went off the rails. But hey, you know what? Sometimes it happens that way.
Sometimes, that's what fair enough is all
what fair enough's about.
It's where the hottest of hot takes can be said with no judgment. Everything's all good. We can respectively disagree as far as those hot takes go, and everything's all fine and dandy.
Yeah.
Fine and dandy.
We should play that fair enough music one more time.
Should we?
I think we should. Let's just play it one more time so we can end it and move on.
All right. Here's okay. Before we end it though, I will say this again. Remember, you have options as far as getting in your fair enough requests. Send us a message on Discord by using the hashtag fair enough at the end, and we'll know to read it and talk about it in our fair enough segment. Or send us a tweet and use that hashtag of fair enough at the end. And again, we'll know to read it during our fair enough segment. But anyway, that closes our fair enough segment. So yes, we will in fact play that great music again.
Fair enough.
What's the situation, Captain?
All right, well, we appreciate everybody's support and listening this week to our episode. That's it as far as our show notes goes. I loved this episode, honestly. There wasn't a ton of news pieces, but we had We flourished as far as discussing them, though, and we were honestly, we didn't really like this was natural flow, natural conversation.
Yes.
It flowed out of us. Clearly, DJ went to the dark side this week, but that again, that is okay. That's what we're here to do. And
Yep.
let us know, again, all of you out there, let us know what you thought of all of these different news pieces. Discord, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of those different platforms. We're wide open on every single one of those. We would love to hear from you, and we're so thankful for your support. Again, on YouTube, help us get, now we're trying to get to 200. Let's just get to that next 100 number. We've gotten to 100 subs, and we are so thankful for that support, and let's continue to grow. DJ, do you have anything else you want to say to our audience before we get out of here?
I'm just glad that we get to live in a space where I can say things that normal human beings don't normally say. And whatever maybe I just need to go home and
Sure.
relax, take a chill pill, as my
Watch
mother would say.
Terrifying Tales.
I need to watch. I'm glad you said that, because I've already forgotten about it. But you know what? I will hang out. I'm going to watch Terrifying Tales, and I'm going to spend the rest of and I'm going to do that probably later, but I'm going to spend the rest of the evening with my wife, and I'm just going to celebrate my 4th wedding anniversary.
There you go.
That's what I got to say about that.
All right, and hopefully you'll come back to the light, and I'm sure you will.
Maybe. We'll see.
All right, let's get out of here. We hope you have a blessed week, and as always, we have spoken.